Hello everyone who is watching our YouTube live stream or the recording of today's Q&A on account H Witness. You can join the conversation as always by posting comments in the live chat on the left or join our Google Hangouts directly by clicking on the invitation link I just posted in the beginning in the chat. If you watch the recording, please post the questions below in the comments and we'll try to answer them as soon as possible. I'm very happy to have both founders, Manfred and Chris, in the call again today to talk about the account H Witness feature within Bisq. If you don't know it already anyways, Bisq is the only real decentralized fiat cryptocurrency exchange out there. You can exchange fiat currencies like US dollars with Bitcoin, for example, or you can also exchange cryptocurrencies with other cryptocurrencies. One very high priority within Bisq is to keep this exchange safe and reduce chargeback risk and in general keep out scammers as good as possible. As far as I know, Chris or Manfred, please correct me if I'm wrong, there was just one case of a chargeback since Bisq is operational. And in my opinion, this is really outstanding for this kind of peer-to-peer network. But still, to improve security even more, a couple of months ago or weeks ago, the account H Witness was introduced and is since the 15th of February completely rolled out. So you might have recognized it already that your trading limits changed at that day. So Manfred, could you please explain to everyone, to me and everyone, what the account H Witness is actually? And what the effects are for a Bisq user, or how a Bisq user recognizes or can use this to trade more securely. But maybe, before you start, for everyone who is watching live, please just post your questions in the chat and we'll go through them after the short introduction by Manfred. I will also quickly put Chris' screen to presentation mode, so he can share his screen, so you guys can see actually how the account H Witness looks like in the Bisq client. Manfred, do you want to take over?
Yeah. Yeah, hello everybody. I would like to give the overview about this feature. This feature was motivated to make Bisq more secure as it is already. As Christoph has mentioned, we had basically nearly zero scam. Unfortunately, there was one case. We sell a chargeback with a relatively low amount. But that was luckily not a stolen bank account or scam and not a systematic scam. It was probably a wife who got angry with her husband to spend too much money on trading and then asked Cell to send back the money. But yeah, chargeback is for all bank transfers, for all fiat transfer an issue, even those payment methods who claim they are completely chargeback free. When you look closer, usually it's not true. So basically every bank transfer can be chargebacked in some cases. It's just a question how easy and how easy it is to do. And our goal is with Bisq that we only support payment methods which are very difficult to charge back, and to design the system in a way that chargeback scammers are not attracted to deal on Bisq. But of course, it can be when Bisq once make 100,000 trades per month or so that there will be some chargeback happening. So we, this account H Witness was an idea we got. This idea came up after some discussion on the forum, and it's mainly intended to keep out this stolen bank account or scammers. So if a criminal has access to a stolen bank account, he could make a trade as a buyer, a Bitcoin buyer on Bisq, and the Bitcoin seller will receive the money released under Bitcoin. The trade is over, and a few days later or weeks later, the victim of the stolen bank account goes to the police, goes to the bank, and requests a chargeback. And depending on the bank and the country and so on, there are chances that the Bitcoin seller will lose then his fiat or money, what he has received for his Bitcoin, and the money goes back to the victim. There are some countries or some banks where it is not possible, where the Bitcoin seller would need to agree that the money can be charged back, but it's already enough trouble to get in these problems to get a call from the police or from the bank. So we want to do everything what we can to avoid that this risk becomes a serious risk in Bisq. And there are some basic assumptions. One assumption is that a criminal who has a stolen bank account, that he wants to cash out very quickly, and he doesn't want to cash out with a lot of small transactions. He would prefer to cash out with a few big transactions, because with every transaction, basically he risks that the scam get discovered and that the bank freezes the account and he cannot cash out further. Based on this assumption, which we actually don't really know, because this information is not really visible in the internet, and it's very hard to research these topics. But I think it's a very logical assumption. Based on this assumption, we thought when we can add a date when you are creating your bank account in Bisq, when you are setting up your SEPA account, for instance, or your Sell account, when we can verify this date, a chargeback scammer will have it very difficult then to cash out, because he need to wait then. Also, the idea of the account age witness is that in the first months when you have set up your account, you can only trade with 25% of the maximum trade limit for this payment method. In the second month, 50%, and after the second month, you have the full trade limit. With this, we want to keep back the scammers. So a scammer who starts, you get access to a stolen bank account, he will set up the bank account in Bisq, and then he has to wait 2 months until he can make a trade with the full trade amount, which is also quite the low amount compared to other exchanges. For most payment methods, we have 0.25 Bitcoin as the maximum allowed trade amount per trade. And this should help also that the scammer cannot, when he has $10,000 or $20,000 on his bank account, that he cannot cash it out with one transaction, and then one victim, one Bitcoin seller, gets scammed and lose all this money. He has to make a lot of different trades. It takes more time. It adds more friction and more work for the scammer. And it's likely that he will look for other opportunities where he can cash out his stolen bank account. And the fact that he has, before he has access to the stolen bank account, he has no idea about the bank details. Like with the SEPA account, he needs to know the BIC and the IBAN, and before he has access to the stolen bank account, he doesn't know this data. So he cannot set up earlier the bank, this account in Bisq. The earliest date is the first day when he has access to the bank account. But usually then he already want to try to cash out. He doesn't want to wait 1 or 2 months to get higher trade limits. So that's the basic idea of. We have implemented this already a few months ago. We didn't want to disrupt the existing user base too much with reducing the limits too abruptly, and so we had faded it in over 3 months. Some users have seen this. Then on the 15th of December was the first fade in, and now on the 15th of January and 15th of February were the last dates where we faded in now fully. And these new limits are now applied. So when you are now creating a new account in Bisq, the first months you have only 25% of the maximum trade limits, which is at the moment with rather low Bitcoin price, a little bit too low. It's a little bit difficult because when we created the feature, Bitcoin price was around $15,000 and was going up. And in future we want to pack these limits on the exchange rate. So basically, we would like to have a trade limit around $1,000, and depending on the exchange rate, that will be then calculated in Bitcoin. At the moment, we don't have this, so it depends. When the Bitcoin price is low, the limits maybe are a little bit too low. When the Bitcoin price go up again, then maybe our limits are a little bit too high, and adds a little bit more risk. But we have to deal with this at the moment. When you create an account, you will see in some additional field in the payment, in every payment method, that's called salt. Maybe I can share my screen. 1 second, I have some screenshots prepared here. Christoph, is my screen visible?
Oops. Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So when you create an account, like here, OKB, you enter your wallet ID, and you see here this field for the salt. The salt is needed. I don't want to go into the technical details. We can do this maybe in another call. But the salt is needed to protect the privacy of the users. It's just a random string, and this random string is beside their important account data. Like with OKB, it's only a wallet ID. With SEPA, it would be the IBAN and the BIC. Also, they're identifying our data from your payment method, plus the salt will be used to create a hash, and this hash will get a date and will get distributed in the peer-to-peer network, and with that, we can verify in the peer-to-peer network the age of the account. And when you create a new, when you move your Bisq application to another machine, and you have not made a complete, the easiest way is to just export the accounts and import the accounts on the other machine. Then you get your account age transferred also to the new account. Because when you have already traded half a year or so on Bisq, you don't want to start again newly just because you are setting up the same account newly. This salt is usually generated randomly, but as said, if you want to transfer it, you can use the you can use the salt from your existing account. Here I have set up one account, and I have here the salt. So I just copy this salt, take it over, and paste it here in when I create the new account, and then the new account will have exactly the same account age like the old account, and I don't need to wait again. As said, the easiest way is just to export the accounts or make a full backup and then use the backup on a new machine or so when you're transferring Bisq. I just wanted to explain a little bit this extra field, which is not very clear probably for new users. What's the meaning for this? And and there is another feature. Maybe I start up my application, then I can show this live. Takes a little bit. Yeah, what else? There was some discussions about how we can make our Bisq more secure against chargeback risk, because that's at the end the biggest risk in any exchange which deals with fiat transfer. And there was some suggestions or some discussion about reputation or ID verification. Reputation is very difficult in a peer-to-peer system. There is basically no really good solution out there. Web of Trust is probably the best what we have, but it's quite difficult to deal with reputation in a really decentralized and privacy protecting way. The other problems with reputation is that it's never really secure. It always has the problem with Sybil attacks and with long con. Sybil attack, scammer just can create 10 accounts, trade with himself, build up a reputation, and in the reality, he has only faked his reputation. We know all this from social media accounts and so on. It's nothing really new. Long con is that a user behaves positive a while, he building up a solid reputation, acting honestly, and after a while, when he has a good reputation, he abused this good reputation to make a scam, an exit scam or something like this. So reputation is never really safe. It can help a little bit to estimate the risk, but the main problem in Bisq is that it's a really decentralized network. We don't have servers where we can hold the reputation and can share it and so on. Another problem is with reputation that it doesn't really work well with privacy. For reputation, you need an identity. The identity will get tainted by some data like trades, the number of trades, or you need to verify that there were really trades and so on. So it's quite problematic. There's no real good solution for reputation in a peer-to-peer network. And
sorry, Manfred, I have a quick question regarding that. Would it be possible to have kind of a deposit for a user which can be confiscated, like with the arbitrators?
Yeah, that was also an idea. That the user basically can buy in reputation by money that he's locking up funds. That's currently with Bitcoin problematic, because who is the escrow to whom he should put in the money? And we don't want to expose the arbitrators to even more important roles. So that's basically unsolved problems. With BSQ, we might have a solution with our own color coin tokens. We could make something like a bonding, what we do anyway for all important roles of developers who have access to the GitHub repository. So they need to lock up some BSQ, and when they would abuse it, that would get confiscated by the network. So that could be theoretically used also as kind of like reputation. It might be problematic because this confiscation in BSQ bonding should be a really completely exceptional scenario, and we don't think that it will ever be really needed. But when we expand this to normal users, and then there are hundreds or thousands of users who are doing reputation bonding, it might be more frequent that we need to confiscate the bonded BSQ, and that's probably a little bit problematic. And but we'll see. That might be an option. And the other thing was with ID verification, as one of the main, the most important parts in Bisq is protection of privacy. That doesn't work very well as well. There have been some ideas. I don't want to get into the details of this, but it would be something like the last resort when we see that when Bisq becomes bigger and we get too many scammers and we cannot avoid it with our tools, what we have. Maybe we will look into some models. There are some models which are kind of like protecting privacy and which works in a decentralized way, but probably kill usability. And so that's another reason why we are not going in this direction. And when people are comparing the security model of Bisq with local Bitcoin, they're very different, because local Bitcoin, it's centralized. They have a centralized reputation system. They have ID verification, know your customer AML. So both we don't want to have, and with that we have a different circumstances. I just want to show quickly their account age feature. So when you click here on the icon, that's the icon of the other user. There you can see the onion address and the completed trades, what you have traded already with this user. But we have this kind of like local reputation. When you traded already 10 times with a user, you will see it here, but it's only their data, what you know anyway. And which is local between you and the other trader. There is no global collected reputation where you see how many trades this user has done, because that would be problematic. And here is the payment account age. That's here 3 days. And with that, you can see how old this account is. And the longer he has set up the account, the less risk has it, because a chargeback scammer will probably not keep his account for 2 months and just wait and sit on his stolen bank account and risk that the victim discover the fraud in between or change the password in between, and then he cannot cash out. So that's the overview about it. If there is interest, I can go into the technical details, but it's written up in a proposal. When you check out our GitHub repository under proposals, there is a specification about the whole scheme with all details, basically. But for normal users, I think it's not really necessary to understand the details, how it's implemented.
And I can jump in and say that actually, Manfred, can you show your screen again, or just say something and your screen will show up so that people can see it? If you just say something, your screen will kick in.
Okay.
But I guess mine will take back over, so it doesn't matter. But I just wanted to say that when you see the feature that Manfred just showed, right? That's basically a hidden feature right now. You really have to know that this account age witness feature exists, and when you know that, then you can click through that and you can get a sense of, a certain sense of security, right? Christoph could say more about this, but what we're planning to do is integrate into the UI something that surfaces that information, so that you see, as you're looking through the open offers, you see a more present visual indicator, right? Some kind of risk scale, et cetera. We're playing with ideas around that. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to have this session sooner than later, is to make people aware of this feature in the meantime, until we get those new UI features implemented.
Yeah, I agree to this, but basically also we want to keep in Bisq everything as simple as possible, that the user don't need to make this work to learn all these concepts, to make the verification, to check the reputation of a user or whatever. Like it's usually the case in local Bitcoin. It's kind of like work. Basically you go there to trade Bitcoin, and then you have to do some rating, you have to do some work, some risk analysis. And we would like to keep Bisq clean, that it's basically on the surface, it's not really necessary. There might be some kind of like risk indicators, which are based on the payment method and amount, on the account age, and on several parameters, which are indicating risk exposure. But basically, we would like to keep this in the background. When the user wants to see it, they have the features to go into the details and see all this. But we would like to really focus on the core use case, which is buying and selling Bitcoin. You do this, and you don't have to care about the risk of what can happen, because it should be basically the case that there cannot happen anything, or when, then it's already reflected, for instance, in their trade amount. When it's a risky payment method with a young payment account, then they can only trade a few $100 at the moment. So the risk is already limited with this as well.
Manfred, maybe one thing regarding the trading limits that are created for each user based on the account age. So this is, of course, for creating offers and for taking offers. So if you want to reach as many people as possible with your trade, then you should have kind of a range. I think what's the minimum? It's 0.0625 Bitcoin if you just have a new account, and it goes up to 0.25 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Per offer.
Yeah.
So the bigger your trade, so offer range, the more people can actually then take your offer. So that's also one thing that you should be aware of regarding the account age witness feature. That if you just set create offers with fixed price 0.25 Bitcoin regarding the amount, then only people who have already accounts for at least 3 months can take this offer.
Yeah, at least 2 months. Yeah.
At least 2 months.
I mean, to make it a little bit more real, I mean, there are, for most payment methods like CEL or SEPA, which are considered medium risk payment methods, we have basically 3 levels. Very low risk, which are altcoins and OKPay and Swish. I think they really don't have chargeback. Then low risk, I think that's Alipay, Perfect Money, and 1 or 2 other. And then the most of the other medium risk. And at the moment we have 0.25 Bitcoin with the current price around $10,000. That's more or less $2,500. So that's the limit what you can trade after the 2 months. After 1 month, you have the half of this, so $1,250 more or less. And in the first month, you have a limit of $600-700. And yeah, it was intended a little bit higher when we implemented it, but because the Bitcoin price was going down the last months, we are a little bit below, but it might be easily the Bitcoin goes up to 20,000 soon again. And then, then it's the double basically of this. And then the lowest trade limit for a new user will be already $1,200, which might be already a little bit too high actually to really prevent the scams.
Just one more question from my side. The upper limit at the moment is 0.25. Although, so if we adapted to the current market price, is the main reason not to even increase it to a higher limit, is that if something happens, we want to prevent people to get scammed in big in big size. Was that the reason?
Maybe it's a good topic to talk about this trade limits. I mean, probably we should find a better term, because limits has always something negative, and people are complaining they don't want to have limits, they want to be unlimited. But a better term would be something like it's a insurance, so it's a spread, risk spread or measurement. Because when you are trading, when you want to sell one Bitcoin, and you need to do it now in 4 trades instead of in 1 trade because of the limits, then you are spreading your risk that you have probably 4 different traders. And when one is a scammer, a chargeback scammer, then you only lose $2,500 instead of $10,000. And beside this, the higher the amounts, the more you Bisq or the platform will attract the real professional scammer, the chargeback scammers. They probably, when they can do it on local Bitcoin with 10,000 euro, they should use Bisq, and they have to much more friction, much more work, and more risk that it takes long, and that the scam get discovered in the meantime. So at the end, it's really for your security. And there is no limit on the number of trades. You can make 100 trades a day or whatever, doesn't matter. It's just, it would be very unlikely that you make the 100 trades with the same person. But you will see this also. You see that this is the same person, and or the same account at least. And with a fiat account, you will see also usually the name or the account ID. So
Yeah, maybe it's just a naming problem, and also I'm not sure. So if you read just trading limit, and you're used to it from other centralized exchanges, then it's normally a trading limit per day, per month. In our case, actually it's unlimited. You can create as many offers as you want. We just limit the amount of Bitcoins you can trade in one single offer. And as you said, Manfred, if we see it more, it's kind of spreading your risk on. So it's maybe we just need to communicate it differently, and then there's to show it at what it is, just a security measurement for the user actually.
Yeah, exactly. We should rebrand this this term. Another small reason is also, I mean, in some countries, but that Bisq is operating globally, so we cannot really take care of the jurisdiction in some countries also, because it's different in every country. But at least in most countries, there are some limits. When you as a trader, when you're trading $50,000 a month, then probably you're a business. You're not a private casual trader anymore, and you have different requirements from the law, like when you're a trader who is just buying now and then, a little bit. And with these limits, we also wanted to keep it lower, that usually you are not falling into these requirements for AML, KYC, and for, in some countries like in America, I think it happens sometimes with local Bitcoin that the traders became problems, that they're interpreted as money transmitter or as business basically, and they don't have a license and so on. And with smaller limits, we hope that the risk exposure to those problems is also lower.
One more question, Chris. I saw that you mentioned that with version 0.66, the account age witness will be set to 0. Is that right?
No, actually, I think what Manfred talked about earlier, I'll just clarify that. So we're looking at adding new payment methods in 066, possibly Cash App, Venmo, a couple of others, right? And I was just commenting earlier on related GitHub issues about chargeback risks there and cancellation risks and so on. And I was mentioning that account age witness is there for those accounts too. And my assumption was that the account age for any new, say, Cash App account in Bisq is going to be 0. But what Manfred said earlier is actually something I didn't know about, which is that the salt can be carried over from one account to another. Can you verify that, Manfred, that say somebody opens up Bisq 066, creates the Cash App account, and can basically piggyback on the age of a previous account?
Only for the same account. So when you're setting up on your laptop Bisq with a certain account, you get a random salt at the beginning, and the combination of the account data with the salt creates this hash for the account age witness. When you then later want to move over to your desktop computer, set up newly the same account with exactly the same data, and then you can copy over the salt from the laptop, and then you have exactly the same account age witness.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we clarified that because that was confusing for me, because of course that salt is a function of data in the account, correct? Or is it just
exactly,
randomly?
It's a part of the data. It's when you're setting up your first account, it's randomly generated, but you can replace it with another salt, and then that way you can basically move over your account age from one account to another. But it only works when it's exactly when you have two different bank accounts. It doesn't work because you have a different IBAN or whatever.
Yeah.
And
so
but the easier way.
My assumption from earlier, the comment that I was making is correct, right? Like brand new, say, Cash App accounts in 066 will have an account age of 0 for everybody in the system. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. Also, every time when you're at the moment when you're setting up your payment account, you're starting with 0. It only applies to fiat accounts. In altcoins, this feature doesn't exist because there's no chargeback risk, luckily.
Right.
And but for this transferring of an account, the easier way is to just export the payment accounts. You can export all the fiat or all the altcoins accounts, import it in the other, and then you have it by default or the same salt, and so then you don't need to do it manually.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify it, not that everyone wakes up with version 0.66 and can only trade 0.625 bitcoins in an alpha.
No, yeah, only for new accounts. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, cool. Is there any? Yeah, sorry, Manfred.
As we faded it in, as 3 months ago, the users who have already had set up their accounts 3 months ago, they were basically always in the 2 months range. They never really felt something. It was only when you set up a new account in the meantime, then you had seen that there was a lower limit. But we designed it in a way that the old users who had already accounts, that they didn't get a disadvantage from this.
Cool. Yeah, just in the meantime, I want to ask, so if there are any questions from you guys on the live stream, please write in the chat. Otherwise, we might wrap it up in a couple of minutes. Or Chris, Manfred, is there anything else? And also Nolan is now in the call. You want to talk about?
If nobody else, I have.
I'll just say very quickly that if you're watching and you don't know that next week, right, it's going to be our USD liquidity week. That's correct. Yeah, Christoph, it's next week, right?
It's next week, yeah.
So like we're talking about 066, we plan to have that out. We hope to have a couple, 2, 3 new payment methods for paying in USD, and should be pretty exciting. So if you live in the US, you have US bank accounts, and you want to help test out some new accounts, new account types in Bisq, and help us bootstrap liquidity, we can get US dollar liquidity up to where euro liquidity is. If you look, you can see like at any given time today, for example, it's been at least 20 open offers, 30 open offers for euro trades, and that creates a pretty good chance of getting in and being able to buy or sell whatever it is that you want. And we'd really love to get there at the same level for US dollars. So that's what next week's all about.
Yeah, I want to bring up the same. I plan basically to release the next day, so Wednesday or Thursday. And I implemented already a few new payment methods, or Cash App, Square, also from Square, then Pop Money, Uphold, and Moneybeam. Moneybeam is a payment method from N26, a German bank. And we would like to focus mainly on the US market, because there we have basically only sell, because we have deactivated our national transfer, because we are still not sure if ACH is very risky from chargeback. We might enable it again, because it seems that it's not more risky like sell or like the others. we wanted to add also Venmo, but it seems that Venmo has too high chargeback risk. As far as we've seen, it's still like PayPal. But what we really need until before we are launching this is the most input what we can get from users who experience with any of those payment methods with ACH or wire in the US. Main problem was with a national bank transfer. We cannot control if you make the transfer as a wire transfer or as a ACH transfer. Wire seems to be quite safe regarding chargeback, ACH not so. That was the reason why we are blocked this for the US. But if we find out more details, if our assumptions were right or wrong, we might enable it again, and that would open up much more possibilities for users who don't have a Zelle account. And regarding the new payment methods, we would like to get your feedback, your experience. There are screenshots how it's implemented. Maybe some data fields are missing. I cannot set up accounts at most payment methods because I'm not American. And another open thing is that in Zelle we have limited their supported banks to 7 or now 8 banks, which are officially their member banks. And in the past, we had quite a lot of problems when we didn't have this restriction. Many users couldn't send the money because Zelle only tells you at the last moment when you're already sending the money that they cannot actually send the money. In the advertising, they say you can send everywhere to everybody, but that's not true. And I don't know if something has changed in the meantime. That was a year ago. And we would like to get also an update about Zelle, which banks really work. If somebody can find out more information about which banks are 100% supported by Zelle and which not. The more info we get in, the better the release will be. There are a few other small bug fixes and small. There will be another interesting feature that will be that you can deactivate an open offer. So when when you have a fixed price offer and you decide now you don't want to let the offer in the offer book at the moment, you can just take it out of the offer book without removing the offer and losing the trade fee and enable it anytime again. So that was often requested, and I implement this already as well. So stay tuned. In a few days, there will be a cool update, and hopefully we can boost the US liquidity with this as well. But as said, I really would need more input on this payment methods stuff because I'm basically flying a little bit blind without testing out myself the payment methods, and it's a big area, especially with the research about scam rates or the chargeback risks and so on. It's quite a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's great news that the release will come up soon, and also I'm pretty excited about the US dollar liquidity week, how it will turn out in the end. Yeah, and also don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to get updates on the Bisq network. We are planning to do this kind of Q&As now more regularly, or maybe every 1 or 2 weeks. But if you don't want to miss anything, please subscribe. And also we'll have another call this week on Thursday, nearly at the same time, where we will talk about the US dollar liquidity week and how to grow the Bisq network. Okay, then Manfred, Chris, thanks for joining the call and telling everyone and also myself about the account H Witness, and I'm pretty excited what we'll cover next time. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.